Welcome back, focused learners. Today we're diving into a really fascinating explainer covering the anatomy of WizeMe.APP. Look, if you're completely exhausted by using AI that just feels like a scattered, disjointed collection of amnesiac chatbots, you are absolutely going to love this breakdown. We're going to explore how WizeMe is designed to be so much more than a standard chat window. It's built as a continuity-first AI partner, essentially a complete digital operating system for high performers. Okay, let's get right into it.
So to really understand this platform, we have to start by grounding ourselves in WizeMe's core operating doctrine. Their foundational rule is incredibly simple, but it literally dictates every single thing the software does. Receive the human, move the ball. What does that actually mean? It means feeling first, then moving forward. The system is fundamentally hard-coded to steady you, to hold on to your context, and to truly hear what's going on emotionally, way before it ever pushes you to take the next practical step. It's a complete empathy-first approach to deep productivity.
And, this distinction really gets to the heart of the problem they're solving for us. Think about standard chatbots right now. They're amnesiac, they're single task, and they are completely generic. They basically force you into this frustrating sprawl of totally disjointed apps where every single session is a hard reset. But contrast that with WizeMe. It is a continuity-first, opinionated, living ecosystem that actually tracks your emotional context over time. You don't have to constantly re-explain your life story, or your goals, or your current tensions every single time you log in.
So here is our quick roadmap for how we're unpacking the platform today. We're going to start with Section 1, the DNA, beyond basic chatbots. Then Section 2, the brain, mirrors, and the board. Section 3, the nervous system, high performer OS. And finally, Section 4, the vital signs, where we'll look at the hard engineering reality making this all happen.
All right, let's just jump straight into Section 1, the DNA, beyond basic chatbots.
In the WizeMe ecosystem, memory is not just some massive, useless transcript archive of every random thing you've ever typed. Instead, it's built around this concept called the chronicle. This is a meaning-rich memory tracking, exactly what shifted, what mattered, and what stayed completely unresolved across your sessions. It acts like this living, breathing chronicle that tracks your actual narrative arc and your intentions over time. It basically filters out all the random noise, so the most crucial context stays alive.
Now practically, this translates into a daily continuity layer. It acts as a partner around the clock. Imagine this. At 7 a.m., the morning brief protects your intentions for the day, before you even glance at your chaotic agenda. Then, throughout your active day, at around noon, you've got standard chat, operations, and even this discrete silent listening mode for taking live meeting notes. 8 a.m., the nightly debrief kicks in to help you capture what actually mattered and release whatever felt heavy. And this is wild. At 2 a.m., it runs a dream synthesis. It literally runs an overnight scan looking for repeated patterns to surface for you the very next morning.
Okay, moving right along to Section 2, the brain, mirrors, and the board.
Let's explore how WizeMe actually thinks and synthesizes information, especially when the stakes get high. It breaks its complex memory architecture down into 5 very distinct layers. It separates your live working context and recent continuity, which resurrects threads from just the last 12 hours, from your durable sovereign memory, which holds on to your core long-term preferences. Then you have the chronicle for your broader narrative arc, and finally, the through line. That one compresses signature lessons your future self absolutely shouldn't forget. This layered approach is brilliant because it guarantees nothing important is lost, but it also means you aren't bombarded with heavy, irrelevant data during a casual chat.
And that brings us to the mirror, which is exactly what it sounds like, a pattern-reading surface. Crucially, it's designed to show you your own blind spots. It does this by comparing your stated priorities, let's say you want to spend more time with your family, against your actual logged actions, your energy, and your calendar. If it spots a contradiction, it challenges you cleanly and, very importantly, without any shame. It just asks, which priority is lying to the other?
All of this cognitive depth powers what is probably my favorite feature, the Board of Directors mode. See, WizeMe isn't just one monolithic voice. It actually features 10 distinct partner personas. Just as an example, you have Alara, who handles family dynamics, grief, and transitions with this incredible warmth. But then you have Soren, who acts as a cold, exact strategist for your high-stakes leadership calls, or Mira for hardcore planning. When you're facing a really consequential multi-stakeholder dilemma, you can explicitly command the AI to call the board. The system runs your exact dilemma past all 10 partners in their specific native lanes, synthesizes their differing perspectives, points out the friction between them, and delivers one emergent next move. It completely shatters your own echo chamber.
Which naturally leads us to Section 3, the nervous system, high performer OS.
This is where we transition from deep, reflective insight into real-world, boots-on-the-ground execution. For high performers, WizeMe acts as a relentless decision architecture tool. Whenever you face a heavy choice, instead of just dumping a quick, thoughtless verdict on you, it runs a decision snapshot. It forces a step-by-step process. First, gather the known facts. Next, identify critical assumptions. It literally asks what ruins the plan if you're wrong. Then it maps stakeholders, defines the failure state, and sets a pivot trigger. It makes you map out the cold reality of a choice before locking it in. And get this, it actually tracks the outcome way later on to help calibrate your personal confidence.
Now, to pull all this off effectively, WizeMe has to deeply understand your world. That brings us to their core connectors. It integrates seamlessly with tools you probably already use, like Granola for meeting notes, Plod for audio execution reality, Slack for outbound actions, and remarkably, even Apple Health for your daily body state signals. If your sleep and recovery metrics are absolutely terrible one day, WizeMe actually adjusts its own pacing, offering you lighter briefs and much gentler demands. But the massive takeaway here is privacy. WizeMe explicitly avoids turning your private life into a surveillance system. All these connectors are tightly scoped, fully permissioned, and easily revocable at any time.
And finally, we arrive at Section 4, the vital signs engineering reality.
Look, we all know it's super easy to promise a seamless, magical AI on paper. But let's look at the cold, hard data they are working with. Notice this number right here, 0.00%. That is not a typo. That is their visible fallback rate according to their strict mission control truth dashboard. They demand absolutely flawless reliability from their routing systems before a software build is ever shipped to a user. If the underlying intelligence isn't working perfectly, the deployment is hard blocked. No exceptions.
And you really have to check out their benchmark performance charting to grasp the scale here. They are currently seeing a massive 14.51x performance lift. And they measure this directly against a very strict internal release gate floor of 10.20x. What this means is they aren't just shipping updates because the code successfully compiles. No way. They require verified massive performance multipliers in grounding, in safety, and in capability before an update ever reaches your device.
We can see this exact, incredibly rigorous standard reflected in their current state deployment receipt. 100% quality score, 100% route reliability, and perfectly synced doctrine. WizeMe enforces absolute infrastructure readiness. For them, speed never ever hides weak answers. In fact, they apply a capped latency score only after the reply is already deemed perfectly safe, entirely accurate, and fully aligned with their core philosophy. Because ultimately, guys, all of this incredibly heavy engineering, the intricate memory layers, the 10-person board, the strict decision matrices, it all exists simply to fulfill that starting doctrine. Receive the human, move the ball. Or, as their shorter doctrine tag perfectly summarizes, feel first, then forward. The technology itself is completely subordinated to holding your context and helping you take the absolute best next action without burning you out in the process.
Which leaves us with a pretty provocative thought to wrap up today's explainer. I want you to honestly look at the AI tools you're using every single day. Is your AI just answering isolated questions in a total vacuum, or is it actually remembering your life and helping you think? Because I'll tell you, once you experience a system that truly holds your context like this, standard chatbots just might start to feel a little too amnesiac to ever trust again. Thanks so much for joining me today, and as always, keep learning,